which brings us on to our guest for episode 28 of Shotgun The Aux, Mr. Ash, the author.
Woo!
How you doing, man? Third time's a charm.
Third time lucky. Yeah, I'm good. You good?
Yeah, good, thanks, man. Thanks for journeying down from Reading today. I know you had a bit of train trouble.
Oh, it's always train trouble.
Yeah, it's nationwide.
Was that Southwest or Virgin, was it?
It's Virgin, yeah, but it doesn't matter what company it is. If you're travelling from Reading, you might as well just not bother.
Yeah.
You could have cycled down, man. It would have been quicker. But yeah, mate, blessed for coming down. And
All good, man.
Of course, the track Transmit is from your new album with Ded Tebiase,
Yep.
Apex. And man, before we go into anything else, I think it's kind of good to talk a little bit more about this album because it dropped last Friday. It's a banger.
Yeah, it is a banger, yeah.
And before you obviously talk a little bit more about the process behind it,
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole soul producer MC dynamic behind it.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it work so much. So do you want to tell people a bit more about the album?
Yeah, I mean, the album started off around December last year. So Deb was quite outspoken on his social media about not having anyone to work with at the moment. I'm not having anyone reliable. So I hit him up like, why are you bitching? Like, stop moaning. You know, give me some beats and we'll like work it out. So he sent over loads of stuff and we kind of started from there. But I mean, there wasn't really ever like a concept or an idea of like what we were gonna do. We just knew we were gonna do something. And he threw a load of beats at me. I threw a load of rhymes at the beats, and we kind of just threw them at the wall. And we were like, let's see what sticks. And that was sort of the basis of what we created in one session. So about, I'd say like 70-80% of the tracks from the album were recorded in that one session from the beginning. And then we sort of started to piece it together with other tracks and like add and take stuff away and, you know, reach out to the DJs for cuts and things like that. So that's kind of how it happened. But it was a very sort of, I think it's the most organic process I've ever had personally.
Yeah.
When it comes to making a full project.
Now, where are you both based?
So Ded's in Bristol and I'm in Reading. Right. So the first time we actually met in person was when we did the Mr. Murphy video shoot, which was like
shit, man,
a month ago maybe.
Oh, you're joking, man. So it's just very much
man.
like a digital relationship.
It's mad, really. I mean, it's kind of the modern way though. There's a lot of producers I've worked with that I've only met a couple times.
Because you followed a similar approach with your two-man band LP of Krang, didn't you?
I feel like for me, it just works better to have one producer and one MC and sort of like...
I think for an album, definitely that it shows and it works in your favour.
Yeah, it's like, it's just easier for one and it's like, it feels more like an organic approach. Don't get me wrong, like I have nothing against listening to albums that have got various producers. Like some of them are like, you know, really good. Monsieur Freak's album, for example, River Wandle, like that's an amazing album with loads of different producers that work. It does kind of feel like it's produced by a team as opposed to like just a couple separate producers in separate places. But then you listen to other albums like Dat Kid and Leaf Dog's like album and it just works like back to front. It's like perfect because they've got that sort of relationship where they both have a stake in what's like the outcome, and it's more of a collaboration than it is just producers giving.
There's a noticeable chemistry that's there. It's thematic throughout, so it doesn't feel disjointed as it might be. I mean, you made a good point. If it's written kind of, you know, co-written and there's a team behind it, then it may flow more. But there are certain albums which
I mean,
are a little bit disjointed because there's multiple producers. It's almost for the sake of having the producers on there.
I think a lot of albums do have that kind of like, oh, it's got this person on it, so it must be good. But it's like, but is there actually like
how much thought's gone into it? Yeah.
Has it actually been made for that purpose, or is it just, you know? But like me and Ded had worked previously before, obviously, on his album Land Speed for the track which was like quite a big number on that album, if I say so myself.
And there's a video for that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a sick video by Rings of Saturn. Like that sort of came about together quite easy. So I'm glad that I did reach out to Ded and was like, let's do something. Because I had been working on stuff which is still unreleased now. Like I was banging out a lot of stuff at the time. So I was just in the moment, in the mode, like, feeling myself, and like feeling like I was doing better as a person and doing better as an MC and as a writer. So I wanted to like do another project, you know. I wanted to keep going and just like making, creating, because that's what it's all about. And it just came about so easy. It was, you know, almost effortless. I mean, it wasn't like that straightforward. There were some beats I was like, nah, it's just too moody. Like, it's way too, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there were some tracks where Ded was like, nah, you can do better. Like,
Oh, really?
so there was a good sort of back and forth in that respect. Like,
That's quite good to have a producer that pushes yourself.
yeah, man, Ded is quite outspoken about what he does like and what he doesn't like. As anyone who's seen on Twitter will agree with me. But not in a crazy controversial way. Not in a way that you couldn't work with him.
In a constructive
way. But there are
way.
times I'm thinking, I wouldn't put that much energy into like talking about what I don't like. But you know, he's each to their own.
I think it's
pick
pick your battles is the expression I'm thinking of.
But so you know, he did push me to do better, and I was like, I stood my ground on certain things and was like, this is how it should be, not like this, you know. And it was a good working relationship. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't all kisses and rainbows, but
nothing is, man. It's two kind of passionate people who are like into your art respectively. It's never going to be a walk in the park. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's good to find that mutual understanding.
The end product was, you know, the best it could be, or more than likely the best it could be. I'm sure, you know, there was tracks that didn't make it, and there's probably more that we could have done. But I feel like we both got to a point where we were like, I'm real happy with what, you know. Deb was like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I was like, this, you know, same. It's the best project I've done to date. It just worked. So
listening through to it, it does sound like you as a rapper and Debs as a producer, you do sort of play off each other. You know, you compliment his beats and then his production.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and I feel like that is right. Like, a lot of people, like, we've kind of brought the best out of each other in a way, and you know, that's a good thing. That's a positive
100%,
thing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real happy about that, and the way that's sort of like come to as finishing the project and putting it out there for the world to see.
So did you have an image of what the finished project would look like, or was it just
honestly no?
Together?
We literally were just like, I think the session that I did was like 6-7 hours, 8 hours in the studio, like just straight, like obviously like, you know, quick fag break or like have a drink or something.
Because for an album that, like you say, there was no sort of pre-planning to it. It was all just a lot of you know, just on the cusp sort of beats and raps.
Seeing what's
it
stuck.
seems very much like I don't know how to go about it. So I love albums where there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like it's like a story. Like you've got the intro, and you've got that sort of interlude at the beginning, and then I believe you have an interlude in the middle as well.
Yeah, there's two interludes.
And then you've also got the like the ending. Like it's a full sort of project. It's not just 8 or 10 songs just put into an album with no sort of story to the actual album.
No structure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I guess in terms of like the structure, then I'd have to like, you know, give respect to Ded for what he did in the terms of structure. I kind of left it in his hands. I had an idea of how I wanted it to like flow, but he was just like, you know, he was like, you got to trust me on this one. Like I know the way that it should be. So I was like, okay, do you know what? Fuck it. We've literally like just done whatever the whole way through, so it's not going to hurt to just let him do the track list. And at first I was a bit hesitant because you always feel like, you know, it's not like we were fighting over control, but it was like, no, I want to do the fucking track list, man. But after a while, like, when I warmed to the idea more, now, like, I couldn't imagine it in any other order or any other way that it came out. So, yeah, I have to pay massive love and respect to Ded for, like, what he's done in terms of, like, structuring the project. And there was, you know, ideas. The way that I've been describing it is, like, it's the tightest production meets, like, the most rawest, like, thoughts that I could put onto paper at that time and space where I was at. Like, there's not really like it wasn't like okay, we're going to do a track that's about this, we're going to do a track about this, we're going to put this sample here so people know. Like, it's very open to interpretation of what people...
It's like stream of consciousness kind of stuff.
Of what people want to take from each track. But, you know, it does work together, and, you know, I am super proud of it. And, you know, it's some of the best stuff that I've written. And also, it's quite, like, I feel like I didn't try as hard as maybe I have in the past. I know that sounds weird because it's like the best stuff I've done, but I think I kind of like tried to have fun with it, and I tried to just be like, this is what I've got on the table. It was kind of like it's a take it or leave it situation. Like, I'm going to put this on, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to bin it, and I'm just going to move on and do another track or work on, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to agonize over trying to make something perfect if it wasn't going to be perfect to begin with.
You didn't want to force it.
Even though it's not perfect, it's not the perfect album. It's not like 10 out of 10 stars, I'd say. You know, there's bits about it that could be better, you know, in air quotes or whatever.
So you sort of took a gamble with it.
Yeah, but maybe not a gamble. I always knew that it would be a good project.
Yeah.
It's me and Ded, like, we had a thing, do you know what I mean, from the first track we did together. Like, we knew it would work. And we had always talked about doing a project, and it just kind of never really went anywhere in that time. And then I worked on other stuff, and I had other things going on in my life that kind of overtook music, and there was like a year of, well, I wasn't really doing much. Then I got back on it, and I, you know, dropped to 7-inch and stuff like that, and things were sort of picking back up, and I was feeling myself again. So, you know, we smashed out the album, and it came out, you know, out really good, really good, in my opinion. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion on it.
You're putting, like, art out to the world, and then, like, the ownership is kind of gone, do you know what I mean? And that is kind of, to Aiden's point, a gamble in that sense. However, I don't think any artist creates a project and releases it unless they're confident in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I knew it was gonna be. You know I knew it was gonna be good, but obviously at the time,
but every component.
I didn't realize how maybe. I don't know. Like, I'd been working on other stuff before that was quite personal and was quite like, I was telling my story, and then on this I didn't feel like I was, but then when I listen back now, I feel like, wow, that is actually like really like. People can actually like hear what I'm trying to say, like, from my heart.
It's candid,
like,
man.
as corny as that sounds,
no, it's good.
You know, like from the heart and soul, like putting my all into it. Like, people can hear that, and they can hear what I'm saying, but at the same time, there is maybe an air of mystery around it. It's not like I'm being like, it's not like an Eminem track or something like that where you're like, and then I fucking told you know what I mean, and then it's like, I broke up with my girlfriend and this happened and this, like, it's not as clear cut as that, but I feel like
there's room for interpretation.
People can,
So I think as well, and like, you know, Aiden talked a bit about it before and stuff, and it is kind of when you're kind of like bearing your soul like that, you don't necessarily want it to be as, some subliminals need to be running throughout it, and people need to kind of relate to it as well. Do you know what I mean? At the same time, and if it's something that's so clear-cut personal to you that people can't necessarily relate to, then do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of,
it loses that kind of that appeal of people wanting to engage in it and understand it. But I mean, there's all kinds of tracks on there. Do you know what I mean? Like, tracks like Supersonic are, you know, a bit more just like, that is just like a straight up ill hip hop track. Do you know what I mean?
And that's the thing, man. It's striking a balance. And I think, like, talking about the finished product and what Aiden was saying about like the structure, it kind of tells a story. And we often we've talked previous guests about it. You want to kind of take a journey into that artist's mind as well, rather than it just being kind of like surface level and there's nothing to dig into. It's just like, nah, fuck that. I want to actually go on a bit of a sonic journey here, yeah. But also, every single component you seem to have touched upon in a really good way. So, the vinyl itself, having the kind of faith in your product to create a physical format and put that out there, that kind of that speaks volumes that you have confidence in the project itself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got to pay props to Village Live for you know, taking the chance on us, because you just never know. Do you know what I mean?
But also,
there's a lot of albums out there that have gone out to the world, and people are like, wow, you know, underwhelmed, and it doesn't do as well. And it's always a gamble. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
like,
man, but
I have a day job. Like, I want rap to be my day job, but it's not right now, and it might not be ever. But like, it is difficult. I think a lot of people out here trying to like blag about how easy it is to do this. It's not that easy, man. You do have to take risks. No
illusion.
And I am willing to take risks, and, you know, financially speaking, not always in the position to, you know, pay for a vinyl press, and that's where it's good to work with a label like Village Live that believed in the product as much as we did, and want to help us out, but they don't want to bend you over and be like, we own you now, like, do you know what I mean? You're ours. You do what we say. Like, it was just a very good relationship all round, because Ded had obviously put out his 2 records with Village Live. I'm good friends with Joey Dees, who runs VL. I've known him for a good few years, and we've always like had a good relationship.
What's VL?
Village Live Records.
Village Live.
Sorry.
Get with it, man. Sorry, guys.
Or Drillage Live, as it's going to be known soon.
So we've got Village.
They're moving into the drill market. You heard it here first.
And
Shotgun The Aux.
TVI. Who's that?
That's Village Live. So that's the label catalog number for that record.
See,
TVI.
okay.
Yeah.
Mad.
But I love, like, it's a really kind of like, it's packaged really nicely. The
mate.
cover art is really slick. Also, you know, your kind of whole marketing campaign, you've released some videos which are all really well produced. It's good.
Yeah.
It just, I think you've covered all angles really well, man. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I feel like we have too, you know, like, and that's always like the hard bit, you know. Making the stuff is fun and doing that. It's the after stuff that can get a bit stressful, and everyone's kind of like, what are we doing, and what's this gonna cost, and who have we got to talk to about this, and like everyone's got to sort of do their bit. And like, to be fair to them, like, Ded's not really that much on social media as much as me. I don't really use my social media for much the music, but I kind of just don't. I don't really get dragged into the other bullshit that goes around it, as we all know. You know, that what exists in that kind of bubble of the internet. Like, you know, we're all laughing because we all know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all know what it's like.
There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of stuff at surface level. There's a lot of, I guess, and we speak about this like kind of backpatting culture, where something that comes out has to be praised instantly if it's part of the scene. If not, then you're kind of ostracized. Do you know what I mean?
You're the bad guy.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. When
How dare you not like something?
When in fact the reality of it is that if you just keep it real and say, oh yeah, I'm not really necessarily feeling this. If it's constructive, what's the harm in that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, like, look, no one wants to go around. I don't want to go around upsetting people, pissing on their parade, being like, you're shit.
African
do you know
Child.
what I mean?
Did you see that video?
On Gasworks.
Yeah.
Oh, I still haven't seen it. I've seen everyone talking about it, but
mate, it's fucking crease, man. He goes in and he's just sort of like just calling out loads of different people. And
yeah, I heard that he was. Who was he calling out? Was he calling out Drake or something like that? Did I hear about that?
Someone like anyone.
Wiley.
Just anyone was in the crosshairs to get deaded. Wow, that's pretty brave.
And on the video, Poet just like walks out. He's just like, no.
Yeah, because that's a bit much, man.
That's
just like a. Do you know what I mean? That's just like a big attention-seeking thing, I think. Of course, isn't it?
That's flash in the pan approach, isn't it? It's kind of like,
my name's running around on Twitter for a bit, and then what's gonna come of that? But yeah, you're right in what you were saying before. Like, there is a bit of a yes man culture. I tried to just do my thing. Like, I got a tight knit sort of circle of people that I know in this game, you know, that do stuff, and I rate, and I always will push them and work with them when I can. And like, I used to get down if someone didn't hit me up to be on something, because I'd be like, oh, you know, I thought we were boys, man. I thought we was going to do this. But, like, in the long run, you got to just think it's not always like that. There's a million people that we could have put on Apex. There's a million people we wanted to put on Apex. Like, I had a whole list of people that I thought. But in the end, it just didn't turn out like that.
But do you think sometimes as well there can be, not an over-reliance, but it speaks volumes that for the most part, it's just you and Ded.
Yeah.
And it's your project. And some people kind of oversaturate their projects with a lot of features for the sake of having features on there.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And like, you know, most of the projects I've done, even Two Man Band was quite scarce with features. There's only like 2 tracks with people on it. There's a lot of DJs that get on my stuff for like cuts and stuff, which obviously is a big part of the culture, and I want to be able to like push that and be like, you know, because I love that kind of I love that kind of vibe of a track that's got cuts, and sometimes tracks don't suit hooks. Some tracks get totally deaded just from the hook. it's such a good track, and then I hear the hook, and I'm like, oh, really?
It sort of takes it away because the track is built around that hook, and if it's good or not, then it's going to destroy it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But
I hear you, man, because I think like sonically, if a DJ and cuts and whatnot, like sonically add to a track. But I mean, like a guest MC coming on. So
I think it just depends.
It works. But
definitely.
If you complement each other's bars,
there's probably a lot of tracks that I would hear and be like, I'd rather it was just them. Looking at the lunchbox we got here, Doom obviously is like one of my favorite artists, and there's been times of his albums where there's features. Not all of them, but there's a couple, and I'm like, really?
Mr. Fantastic, though, man. Come on,
Mr. Fantastic.
Best fucking
Mr. Fantastic always gets a pass because he is just a G.
Yeah. He's a myth as well. Like, who is that guy?
Just him.
You met him at Armsdeal, whatever it
is. As soon as he hits that mic, I'm like, yes, it's Mr. Fantastic. I don't care how good he is or how bad he is. It's Mr. Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I feel like at the same time, you kind of have to respect an artist's view of like what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
100%. From a fan's perspective, we're always thinking, why the fuck did you do that? I wanted you to do this, but you have to remember, it's not about you, it's about them. Do you know what I mean?
It's toxic fandom.
You do get that. I get that as an artist, of people saying to me, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you hit up that person? It's like, well, because I didn't fucking want to. I wanted to do this, like, it's my choice. It's my music, so it's my choice.
I guess it's like, I was watching, like Anthony Fantano, like the Needle Drop guy.
Yeah.
So like he released a video off the back of Chance the Rapper released his latest album and it was a dud.
Oh, fucking hell,
like, I haven't heard it, but
can we just stop and talk about that for a second?
So this is what I'm getting into, yeah. so he released the album. It came out. It was shit. Like based on his track record, I'm kind of in two minds of Chance the Rapper. I'm not always feeling this stuff, but I appreciate what he does. But this album came out. It's kind of universally hated. Anthony Fantano.
That is just a bad sign of times, isn't it? When it's universally hated.
But Anthony Fantano released a video that said, "Oh, if you're an artist, choose to watch this video or not. But this is how you deal with the fallout from a negative review, and just don't take it personally. Like, just people are fickle. People have short memories, especially in this climate. Do you know what I mean? This day and age, people have real fucking short attention spans, and if you just don't take it to heart and continue doing it, because there's that counter argument to what you just said. There's kind of like, I did it because I wanted to do it, but then if you get an adverse reaction to something, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about an artist in general.
Yeah.
But if there's an adverse reaction to putting the music out, then you need to be able to take it constructively as well. Do you know what I mean?
So what was the reaction to
it? The reaction to Chance the Rapper's album.
What was Chance's reaction to the bad feedback? Or has
I don't know. I think it was just the catalyst for the video. Do you know what I mean? He just said, off the back of this, some people take it personally, some people lash out. And he's just like, you don't necessarily need to do that as an artist.
Yeah.
You just kind of carry on doing your thing, because everyone's going to fail at some point throughout their career.
Strange, because that album, like, I'll be honest, I haven't really listened to a lot of Chance the Rapper, but I give him sort of time because he's put out a new album.
Yeah.
And like albums like for example the Kanye West Kids Who Ghost album. Have you heard that?
Yeah, it's good, man. I don't like all of it, but there's a couple tracks where I'm thinking,
same as me.
This is actually sick.
So
why didn't I check for this?
Production-wise, I thought it was spot on, but it's not my sort of cup of tea in terms of just enjoyable listening.
Yeah.
But then this album, the Chance the Rapper one, mate, I just could not get into it or appreciate any part of it at all.
That's the difference.
Damn, that is a big statement.
That's the difference, though. I think because we talked about this in the car on the way down. Yeah. So where you've got art, which at this day and age is a culture where it's either like it's either got to be fucking amazing or it's terrible. And, kind of like critics, reviews and everything, it's like, this is shit or this is amazing, right? It can't be anything in between. I love stuff that's polarizing. I love stuff that's like slap bang in the middle, divisive, like Kids See Ghosts, to your point. You still took something good from it, even though it wasn't necessarily your cup of tea sonically. Mm-hmm. It's subjective. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
you can still champion it, and you can still say that these components or these tracks or these features worked really well. This didn't. And look at it constructively, and critically, rather than it was shit or like I wasn't feeling it, therefore it was shit, or I loved it, therefore it was amazing.
But it's just
people
like
don't
you
have
were
those
saying,
conversations enough, man.
It was just like you were saying in the car as well when we were on the way here about your love of films and stuff. And I have a big love for films as well. Like I wouldn't sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm such a film buff. Like, I don't know everything about films, but I love films. Always have. I did film at college, funnily enough. But I've been watching a lot of stuff recently. I've been watching like the Vice stuff on All 4 about
I'm so happy they got Vice on there now.
And they're sort of analysing like big directors with actors who've worked with them and sort of going through their careers and talking about films. And there's a lot of films on there from a lot of different directors that when they come out, like John Carpenter was one, like as an example of things like The Thing and, and even like Ridley Scott with Blade Runner, people then didn't realise what impact it would have until later. Some things don't. I'm not saying, I haven't checked Chance the Rapper's album, so I wouldn't say it was good, like, because I haven't heard it.
But people haven't had time to reflect.
I'm not saying it's one of those albums, but I think there is a lot of music out there that over time gets better.
I agree.
Some things, I listen to some music now, like Doom is an example. Like I listen to some like stuff that's like nearly like it's got to be going on nearly 20 years old now.
Oh yeah, around that. Tom, you've been there. You're the Doom guy.
I'm the old guy. You mean?
You're the old guy.
Operation Doomsday is like what 97 or something like that.
Yeah,
I think
around that time.
So that is literally
just like when your 21st, was it?
Fuck off.
That's like 20 years old, and it still sounds fresh. Even Mad Villainy is like 15 years old or something, and that is still like the best album ever.
Yeah, that's
so some things are still good later on. Some things get better later on, and then some things are just whack forever.
Some things also are like you fondly remember due to nostalgia, like a lot of like 90s films which are like time capsules, and it's same with albums. You know that they don't necessarily date well, like a lot of kind of like West Coast gangster rap, and like a lot of the I know that rap is an escapism, and you don't take it all literally. There's a lot of like metaphors and stuff in there. But I revisited Snoop Dogg "Pay the Cost to Be the Boss" recently, and it's just fucking laugh out loud, like the misogyny in that fucking album, man. Not that I'm like I'm not triggered.
It was a funny
but
old
you
time.
listen to it and you're like fucking hell, man. Like you just kind of laugh it off. But
I think back then it was just coming onto the cusp of like. These days, you probably wouldn't really get away with saying half of that stuff, man. And rightly so in some respects. Obviously, everyone's got artistic license to, to a certain degree.
Because you could argue,
but there is some things you just shouldn't say or think or do.
That's not cool anymore.
But you could argue that. You could argue that you wouldn't have like Eminem if those rules applied back then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there that I'm not really a big Eminem fan. I know, shock horror. The room goes silent.
Not at all, man. Like you can be whatever sort of fan.
There's a lot of people out there that find that quite ridiculous. There's some people out there that will probably clapping their hands right now, jumping up and down, agreeing with me. Like it's quite.
So you weren't feeling like Infinite. You weren't feeling like Slim Shady.
Mate,
I didn't
even check. I haven't even checked for it in a good 10 years.
Yeah, fair enough.
Encore is probably the last Eminem album I listened to in full, and that is the truth.
Yeah, man,
it's just not really something that I'm into. A lot of people was like banging out Jedi Mind Trick stuff. I'm not really into that as such. I was kind of just.
I went through like a mad like JMT phase probably about 10 years ago. Like when it was
wrong,
like it's proper gym music. It's just like anger, and then like you realise that. I mean, I love Vinnie Paz, but he's very samey. Like he hasn't really like progressed much.
I have nothing against them personally, and I feel like they got skills and like they deserve to be loved by the people that love them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just not really. I was more into like, well, obviously my UK stuff. I'm more into like things like Pharcyde and Tribe Called Quest. Maybe stuff that was a bit more smoother and a bit
You've
more.
You've supported Pharcyde, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
That was before I'd even put out my first album, so it was a pretty good experience.
Yeah,
I still haven't even done a gig as good as that to date, really. No, I have done a few good ones. It was wicked, man. It was amazing.
Just going back to those the Vice documentary, the film one. Did you watch the one with Danny Boyle?
Yeah.
Trainspotting.
Sick, man.
I never knew like how much like a background there was into it, and when they were talking about how they filmed each scene, because it's so. The filming of the Trainspotting is so like basic, but it's so I don't know how to describe it. It's so much of an impact, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wicked, man. Like those, even though they're very short, I think that one was a bit longer because they were getting quite in depth. But like, it is cool to see that sort of like that sort of behind the scenes without it being too like cornball and Hollywood gloss over. Like everyone's having an amazing time and it's the greatest job in the world. I'm sure it is the greatest job in the world, but like I feel like with those direct, that's why I got mad respect for that kind of industry and those kind of people because they're all just artists trying
creative
to like
types, to
just like push their
very
art
like
to the
collaborative
world.
as well, isn't it? Especially making something as like a film. Like
man, everyone plays like a pivotal role in that film getting created, from the smallest to the biggest.
You got to think like lighting, makeup, like all of that stuff is so massive.
Everything is
train
important.
Spotting, like even I don't know if I'm saying this right, but from that documentary, like they didn't even put that much into it. It was just the ideas of how to capture shots. It wasn't like amazing shots or like amazing techniques to filming. It was just quite simplistic, wasn't it?
I think it was more to do with sort of like the kinetic side of it, like the energy that was in there and the sort music. Of the rapid movement and the music. And obviously it's based on the Irvine Welsh novel, which I've tried to read about 4 times, but it's impossible.
Reading it in a Scottish accent, it's
so hard, man. I praise anyone who has read that the whole way through.
Have you ever tried to read A Clockwork Orange?
Yeah,
that's exactly the same problem because it's all like in the kind of like
with Russian the droogs slang. and the madness. But I have finished that.
It's Anthony Burgess got the book over there, man. You actually need. It's got like a glossary at the back.
I need to read more books lately, man. I used to read so much when I was younger, and I just haven't. There's just so much more like.
There's a lot of distractions these days, man.
There's a lot of stuff going on, which is good.
Netflix,
like I like them.
Netflix took away reading.
Netflix ruined our lives.
It did, because I heard somewhere that the human brain can only handle up to, I think it's about 12 choices.
Yeah, I heard about this, but I don't know if I believe. It's the same as all this like. Everyone tries to sort of like demonize this like, oh, Facebook's ruining the world. It's like. Facebook ain't ruining the world. People ruining the world. Like it ain't got shit.
Use of it,
it ain't got shit to do with like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm not. I wasn't saying like that.
No, I wasn't saying you were saying that, but
the point being
fuck you, Tom.
There's a lot of.
I was just going back to what we were saying about attention span, reading it and stuff. Because that's why you find yourself sometimes scrolling endlessly on Netflix. You can't find something because you're just kind of like overwhelmed with choice.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that if there's like if the less choice, it's easier to make a decision as such. I get what you're saying there, but I just feel like I see a lot of stuff going around all the time about this, that, and the other, and trying to bash one thing or another, and it's like have we lost our own sort of like personal responsibility for what we do and what we want to do?
That's a good point.
If you want to sit there all day on Facebook, then do it, man.
Yeah, man.
You're not out there hurting anyone as such. Like it might not be that good for you, but what is?
There's always that invisible,
do you know what I mean?
Virtuous judgmental person who doesn't actually exist. They're like, or articles and stuff like that. Oh, you're spending too much time doing this. It's like, who's actually like making those rules and telling people?
Yeah,
what to do?
exactly.
Who gives a fuck?
Like, it's some weird invisible like.
Half it is like Vice articles on Facebook, isn't
it?
I think it's just to incite
Vice.
stuff.
I unfollowed Vice fucking years ago because I couldn't read their shit anymore because there's clickbait bullshit and like. I found myself getting into that trap of reading it, opening it, falling for the bait, and then just getting angry.
No,
about
I get it. Because they do.
I'm going to make a conscious decision to fucking unfollow Vice.
Some of the stuff they do is really good, and then some of the stuff they do is like...
The best shit they do is munchies, man.
You see that one where the guy was like going around to the club nights and like trying to like experience new music. They did one, it was like UK hip hop, and they did like... I can't remember the name of the jam. It's like one in Bristol where they were doing like sketch battles and stuff for like writers, but they're not like writers.
No,
is
not
it on
like
the
walls? Is that what
it's not
called?
rope-a-dope,
something. No, it's not rope-a-dope. It definitely wasn't that. It was like I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it was just they were just the guy was just basically trying to be all condescending and being like, yeah, all these white kids want to just like know how to rap and it's like, mate, you've literally just like cherry-picked one tiny segment of something, and it goes for all the genres of the stuff they go. He goes to like an indie night, and it's basically just some guy living out his fantasy of turning around being like, being like, oh, I'm so white and middle class that all I want to do is try and poke fun at other people's fun, and I understand that like
takes a piss, but in a really ironic way.
Yeah,
it? So
it's
that's
and it's just so like, who the fuck is paying for this? Like, who actually cares that much? Do you know what I mean? Like, but I do like some of the stuff they do. I like the stuff that they do with Action Bronson, obviously.
He's not with him anymore, though, is he?
I don't know what's going on.
He left due to, I don't know whether it's contractual, and he didn't feel like he was being treated fairly.
Why did Hate Thy Neighbour stop?
Fuck knows. I don't.
But a lot of people did that.
Doom
severed his ties with Adult Swim, didn't he? Like a year or so ago, and no one knows what happened with that. Really,
he's one of the most elusive people ever, man.
Oh, he's the best.
I heard they'll only finance a series if they smoke weed in it. Or if there's some sort of drug thing, something to do with drugs in it.
Yeah, man.
If it's not controversial, we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's a bit like
probably that would shock me.
After a while, though, mate. It's almost like it's too fucking edgy for me, man.
I just like fuck. That's delicious. Like that's the best Action
man. I've got the book.
It's just like him and Mayhem and like
Mayhem
Big Body. Big Body is that guy, man.
No, man. I've got the other. I'm not into Big Body Bez, man. I think he's such a clinger on her. But I love Mayhem Loren.
No, like, Big Body's the guy, man.
When Mayhem goes to,
he cracks me up.
Which one's Big Body?
Big Body's the big motherfucker,
white guy.
With he's always got like a leather jacket on and shit.
He just comments on fucking everything. He just takes the piss
just
out of everyone.
It's just him trying to like holler at girls like when they're walking past and things like that. Little things. Obviously Mayhem. They're all amazing in their own right in that series.
Have you seen the video on I think it might be Vice or Munchies or something where Mayhem Loren is going around eating all the proper street food. He goes to Harlem. He has like the lamb and all of that stuff.
No, I don't know if I've seen that one.
He goes to a fucking. He's like head to toe in like a fucking Gucci tracksuit and shit, walking around Harlem. He goes to this Irish food truck. And then he's like infatuated by a chip butty because he's never heard of it before. He's like, "Excuse me, my man, what is a chip butty?" And he's like, when he hears it, it's like a French fry sandwich. His mind is blown. He's just like, what the fuck?
I need to go check that. That sounds amazing. Yeah, it's a wicked series, man. I do love action, man. I've got some sort of, like we were saying, there's like certain music reminds you of a certain time. And I remember when I first came on to Action Bronson. This is like not that long before I started like making music, and I just loved it. It was just so crazy.
Dr. Letts.
I used to smoke so much weed back then as well, so I was like just all day long, just bumping.
He's just like an old school MC in a traditional sense. He's got good bars, witty bars, a lot of like pop culture references,
and he nailed that kind of like oh fuck it, we'll just do a throwaway mixtape. Who gives a shit what it's about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I feel like maybe he just did it like a little too much, and then people wanted to have like, we need that big debut Action Bronson album.
He did all the stuff, Party Supplies and like Blue Chip and stuff.
And then that Blue Chips 3000 or whatever was like not what everyone thought it was going to be, and it got a bit like, what's happening, and now he's gone on to be like his own sort of cult celebrity outside of making music.
I like how he's gone full circle back to chefing though, man, because I mean I used to chef myself and I fucking like I'm just obsessed with that.
Yeah, man, the shit that they like I wouldn't sit here and be like, I'm not an expert on anything really, but I'm not an expert on food, but like some of the stuff in that Fuck That's Delicious, I'm just like, holy shit.
It's good,
it just makes you hungry. Like, it's making me hungry now. Just thinking about
the chicken palm that he does, man. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like, I just love food. Like, it's probably up there with like hip hop, beers, and food, and The Simpsons. Like, that's the four things
I was
going to
get into that shit. So
we're going into The Simpsons now.
So you've right, and I might be mistaken, but I thought I caught a glimpse of a Hans Moleman tattoo.
Yeah.
Is that yours?
That is true. That is my tattoo. Yeah.
Football in the groin is possibly one of the funniest.
You know Hans Moleman from The Simpsons, the old man.
Bruv, I'm not into The Simpsons.
Oh man, he's like the old man with like the little sort of glasses. He's got a little stick.
Is he the one that always get injured?
Yeah.
Football
or something
groin,
always.
Man.
Yeah, he gets the football in the groin. He drives the sugar truck that crashes that Homer takes. Like,
I know.
Homer kisses him a couple of times. Like, there's all kinds of shit happens to Moleman. He's just like one of them in and out characters. But yeah, so it's a tattoo of. For anyone who's watching this who hasn't seen the tattoo, there's a fair few people who have. Anyone who hasn't seen the tattoo, it's basically a tattoo of Hans Moleman. But instead of in his usual Hans Moleman get-up, he's wearing a 1992 Polo Ralph Lauren Stadium rugby with some white Reebok workouts with gum and a little hat. And yeah, so that is basically the gist of the tattoo. The tattoo kind of started out as a joke. it was my idea. So the idea came from me, and it was sort of bantered around a few of me and my friends. And I don't know, it just kind of like stuck. It was like a splinter in my mind. I just could not like not get the tattoo. And then my homie Vince, who's obviously a graffiti writer, and who just started doing like a tattoo apprenticeship, was like, I pitched the idea to him, like, look, I know this sounds absolutely fucking stupid, but I want to get a tattoo of Hans Moleman in some polo. And he was straight, because he loves that shit as well. He was like, we got to do this now. Like, it has to happen. So I went down to Parlour Tattoos in Shoreditch, was where he does his, was doing his apprenticeship. I'm pretty sure he's, like, fully fledged now.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just did it, and that was a lot
of faith in someone to give you a Hans Moleman tattoo.
Well, he showed me the designs. Like, obviously, he for anyone who doesn't know, he did the artwork for my album with Krang 2-man band. So if you've seen that, you know that he's got mad skills. Like, he's an amazing like graffiti writer, artist, whatever you want to call it. Like, and he's also, you know, like a graphic designer and an artist in his own right, outside of like that traditional like graffiti shit. So I'm glad it was him that did it. Like, it was a real fun day getting it. And I wish I could get it out on this camera, but I don't really think it's going to work.
We'll get something on the story later, man. It's all good. But
I
think
it is a sick tattoo, yeah.
Because you also make reference to like Lionel Hutz in your Gold Dust track as well, and that, man. Like R.I.P. Phil Hartman.
I love The Simpsons, man. Like, I don't trust anyone who doesn't. Like, no offense. Like, that wasn't a diss.
Do you think, like,
but
like, I always call Aiden out for his age, yeah. So Aiden's 23, yeah. So it makes kind of sense because like you never.
No, not really. I'm 20. I'm 26.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not that old. I'm not that young. But like, I don't know. It's just something in my childhood. Like, I remember having like the VHS of The Simpsons, and it wasn't like a series because obviously it was a video.
Yeah.
So you had like 4 episodes, and they were sort of hand catered to like a certain theme. Yeah. So there'd be like the sports ones.
I remember the Last Temptation
Halloween
of Homer
ones,
as well.
and stuff like that. Religion, like they just kind of marketed it in some next level way, hand picked through all kinds of different series. It's like.
Did you ever own that book, Bart Simpson's Guide to Life?
I don't think I did, man. There's a lot of.
Get it in your life, man.
Did you play Simpsons Hit and Run?
Yeah, man, always. The best Simpsons game is the 4-player arcade Simpsons game. We used to go on holiday to Cornwall every summer, and at the place we used to stay, they had it there.
Is it?
Last time I played it was in Peckham at 4 Quarters Bar, which is like
4 Quarters in Peckham.
Oh,
sick.
You've been?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
sick.
I went to an Always Sunny in Philadelphia night there. Always Sunny in Peckham.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
we're getting into some like crazy stuff right
now.
now.
So they had like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you haven't watched it, fucking correct yourself.
Yeah, it's a sick program.
I better go and watch it.
Oh mate, it's the fucking
man.
It's a toss up between like in terms of comedy shows, Simpsons excluded from this. It's probably like between Peep Show and Always Sunny.
Okay, I'm on Peep Show. Yeah.
But the thing is,
TV shows.
with Always Sunny, it's only like the first few seasons, and then it starts to like not be as good. Like Peep Show all throughout. Well, for me personally, man, all throughout Peep Show is amazing, back to front. Like,
you're a fan of Alan Partridge?
It is. See, I am, but I'm not. Like, I know that sounds weird, but like, it's just something that I never like got into enough to rinse. Yeah, but when I see it, I laugh. But it's not something that I would go back to time and time again.
It's not like
so
Peep Show, you can watch that over and over
so
again,
my knowledge of Partridge isn't up as obviously like die-hard fans, because it is one of them things where people are like, they're either obsessed with it or they just know what it is and they've seen it and they're not really that fussed.
Going back to Always Sunny though, and like this place you were talking about. So like the 4 Quarters in Peckham is a sick little place. So you got all the old school like arcade games. So Vice were actually there filming and interviewing people there. I think me and the wife.
That's it. No one can go there now.
Me and the wife weren't married then. But we probably like, I remember being interviewed and stuff. I don't know whether it actually made anything. Probably not, because I was smashed. But we went there and they had all the food and the booze like featured in the show. Like they had like wine in a can, Ziploc spaghetti, Mac's famous mac and cheese. And in the top they were just having like an Always Sunny marathon, man. And there was like fancy dress.
Not heard about this?
Mate, look into it. I'm sure they'll do it again. It was fucking
big up
amazing.
4 Quarters, because they are sick. Big up my man Oliver Sudden does his night at 4 Quarters as well.
Oliver Sudden.
Wax on, wax off.
We always say this every single episode. Oliver Sudden, probably the best rap name I've ever heard.
Yeah, man.
Mate, you need to get Suz down there, man. He's got gems. I got so much love for that guy. He is like a big brother to me. He's schooled me on so much. Like he's hooked me up. He got me shows. He's done like, and he's just been a good friend. Like, and he knows a lot of stuff, man. And he knows a lot about that culture of, of like growing up in South London and like going down to, I think it's Black Sheep, the pub, and like Loafer and those like DJing in there, and like the whole like Croydon dubstep and like being around that, and then obviously doing his hip hop thing. Like, you need to get him onto Shotgun The Aux, and if he hasn't like got up on you guys yet, I need to sort of make that happen.
I think he follows us.
Suds has got gems to drop, man.
There's an old video of him with like CPAR from People Just Do Nothing.
Yeah, man. And like he is that guy. He's like one of those people in a scene that's sort of like interwoven into it and will never not be a part of it. That connects.
I'm pretty sure his name comes up most episodes.
He introduces you to one person who introduces you to another, and then you're all friends, and then you've got like...
He's like the Kevin Bacon of UK hip-hop.
Is that a direct quote? He's just the guy, man. Like, I've got mad love for Suds. Like, he's always been that guy. Like, he's one of the nicest guys. I know he's been down here a few times,
right, man. We'll look
playing Boogaloo and stuff like that.
I'll reach out to him.
Suds, if you're out there, I'm like reaching out to you spiritually right now. You need to come down, man.
So we kind of glossed over it before because we were still chatting about films and stuff.
We've been going in on some shit,
You
man.
supported the Pharcyde again, man, and we obviously went off a few tangents in between. So how was that for you? Did you get to meet him?
Not really, no. I know that sounds probably like very disappointing for people to hear, but
that's quite
not
common,
really.
To be fair, I think you do hear that.
I think they were sort of on the back end of like a very long tour, and they're on like the back end of a long tour, and I just don't think they really wanted to like do the rounds a bit. And I mean, it's fair enough, I guess. Like, it's got to be. I mean, I've never been on tour. It's bad enough going all the way to fucking like Bournemouth or something to do one night, let alone going the entire way around a foreign country. Like, obviously they've been here loads of times, I guess, but like, I can't imagine it's that as fun as it sounds. Like, I'd love to do it. Like, it's my dream to be able to like go on tour in a fucking bus and be like, oh my god, we're going to fucking, I don't even know where. We're going to Leicester, we're going to Glasgow, places that I'm probably never going to end up going.
I love that, Leicester and Glasgow.
just to rap or wherever. Do you know what I mean? Like, just anywhere that's not home to rap to people and them to actually be like, and have a good time. Like,
yeah, man.
But no, I didn't get to meet them, but I have met them before, I think a year. May have been a year, maybe a bit longer. Before that, they came to Reading to play at a place called Sub 89, which I have played at as well, but I hadn't sort of really put much out then. So I hadn't really been doing that many gigs as such. And they came to a spot which is called Purple Turtle, which is in Reading. It's kind of like a bit of a famous bar, like it's the late hours spot. Everyone goes there.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting brought through to there because obviously it's a late night spot. And we ended up like smoking weed with them like in the garden and then getting chucked out. My mate got arrested and everything. It was madness.
Fucking hell.
I can't even remember which one it was now, which makes it sound even worse and unbelievable. But one of the members of the Pharcyde that we were smoking weed with, but I can't I think it was Fat Lip, but I can't remember, to be honest. It was a very, very messy night that kind of took many turns, as they do,
Yeah, man, of course.
As we all know. So, but no, I didn't meet them that time, but I have met a few artists that I have supported. Met Gift of Gab when I supported Black Alicious in Reading,
shit.
which is pretty cool. I mean, not for long, like for 5 minutes, chatting and that, and then because he's down with a guy called Tablik. You guys know about Tablik? From yeah. So like he'd come over to the UK a couple of times to play at Holdin Court, which is obviously the night that I'm involved with and host in Reading and London. So he had told me a few days before, after seeing me sort of announcing that we were supporting Black Alicious, that he was like down with Gab, and for me to say what up or whatever. So he was just chatting to Gift of Gab and that, and then sort of dropped it, and he kind of looked at me like, what? How the fuck does this guy know Tablik? And I was just like, kind of laughed to myself, like, yeah. And then that was it, really. And then he bopped, and then he did his set, and it was wicked, they killed it, and then that was it. And then I went home, and they went home, and that was it. And then obviously, I've met DJ Format a few times now, and we're like pretty like
legends, friendly.
From the first time that I supported him when he played in Reading, it's like a charity sort of festival that they do, and I sort of warmed up for his DJ set, and he was like super feeling it, and we were like friendly, and then he came back like a year later, or maybe a year and a bit, whatever, I can't remember. With emcee Abdominal and did their thing when their newest or last album came out. So like obviously we'd already met, so it was like seeing an old friend, and then obviously he introduced me to Abdominal and we were chatting. So I have met like a few.
You've been about, haven't you, man?
Yeah, man. I've met a fair few artists over the years. Some in better situations than others, depending on sobriety and stuff like that. But yeah, it's amazing. I think that's like one of the best parts about doing it. Not even just like American rappers, but like meeting. I distinctly remember the first like 3 times that I ever like actually met and talked to Kashmir. I was totally fucked out of my mind, and I was really starting to get worried that he thought that I was like the biggest moron. And then just saw him randomly another time, and he was like Ash, and I was like, oh my god, he actually knows who I am. Like fuck. So maybe it wasn't that bad. And now we're like super cool, so like that's good. And obviously he's like one of my favorite rappers from the UK.
Yeah, man.
Kashmir is
been
the
around
fucking guy,
while, man.
He just kills it on everything. Like he's just that guy. So, you know, even just meeting like UK artists like that, and you know, from the old title, or even from like, you know, newer artists, just to meet someone and be like, mate, I really like what you do. Like whether or not you know who I am doesn't matter to me. Like I just want to let you know that, you know, I really feel what you're doing.
It's quite a close-knit community, UK hip-hop, isn't it?
It is in a sense.
You go to an event, like you normally see someone you know, or you normally see
It is in a sense. I think
small country though.
It all depends on what events you go to as well, I find. Like from my times of being in London, you know, going back to people like Suds, going to like Cypher Lounge in Brixton, or like going to Higher Learning in Deptford, and like getting involved in the ciphers and stuff, meeting people like Manage being like, you're sick, and I'm like, what?
Manage is probably like, he's up there for me in UK
Manage
rappers.
is disgustingly good, and I think
like
a lot of people.
Is probably like one of my favourite albums, man. Like
a lot of people, I think sleep on Manage 100%, a fair bit.
100%, man. I think I just remember like that old. I brought up before. There's an old cipher. It's like Manage, Gibberish, like Possessed from Rhyme Asylum, Dot Brown, Plasma, all just kind of spinning.
Yeah, man. That's
and Manage,
heavy,
man,
like.
is just like, in terms of like just a straight spitter, like MC in its truest form. I think he's up there.
Yeah,
I
man.
honestly rate him, man. I really want to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, man. You should hit him up.
Yeah.
Like he's a cool guy, man. Big up to Manage. Like he's a cool guy. He's real safe. I actually randomly spent like one part of a New Year's Eve with him a couple of years ago in Deptford at a pub. DJ Downstroke and Tiny were DJing at. My ex was living not too far, and I just sort of bowled down there for a bit. And Managers turned up. Yeah, it was pretty random, but it was cool. Yeah, but yeah, Manager's cool, man. Just meeting people and sort of like getting in the midst of it. But it's funny, from all my times of being in different places, people still don't know where the fuck I'm actually from. Yeah, people would think that I'm from Croydon because I spent so much time with all the South London lot. Or people think that I'm from Brighton, and they're like, oh, aren't you in Team Jeeves? I'm like, no. I'm cool with them. Like, we did a couple festivals together one year and got totally, like, off the scale of, like, out there in terms of getting fucked up and, like, killing shows. And, like, they've come and played at Holdin Court, and I've gone to Brighton and played. Like, we're cool. Like, I would call them, like, good friends in that sort of music scene. Definitely. But, no, I'm not signed to their label as such. I'm not, like... I don't live in Brighton, like I live in Reading, bro. So there's not that many of us out there. So like,
so what's your kind of stance and view on UK hip hop as of today?
I think it's good, man. Like it's good. Like it could be better, but it could be a fucking hell of a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like quality control, I feel like it's in a good place in terms of like. The best stuff kind of breaks through, and there is kind of people that maybe aren't looked upon as much as others. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a lot of people are in the know more, and obviously it's getting a lot more of a widespread, you know, like it's out there for the world to see a bit more than maybe it was 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
You've got pockets of fans in different countries, like especially like Australia and in Europe.
Yeah, Australia, Europe, like this is what I mean. When we dropped the albums, people like South America, Australia, and Europe, like are the main, aside from sort of the UK, obviously, that are like hitting me up, being like, "I love your album," and I'm like, "Yo, cheers, man! Like, what the fuck?" I didn't even know it was going that far. Like, I'm buying the records as well, so that is dope, man. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's so hard. Like, there's been so many in the last sort of like 5-year burst. There's been so many artists that broke through to like being out there. Like, people like say like Ono Capono is one that was like so ill from the get-go, but maybe people didn't know who he was, and then sort of like blew up and everyone was talking about him. And you know, other artists of that sort of caliber, maybe it is hard to like keep up in terms of like amazing albums. Like, when I think about like the new, you heard the new Ronnie Bosch album? It's fucking sick. Like, it's so good. You know, that's like been a big album of this year that I read. The Dat Kid and Leaf Dog album, obviously, like that's a big album. The new Juggernaut and Gallo Point album, sick. Obviously, Gallo, ill producer. Jugs is like top 5 easily any day of the week. But I feel like maybe, I don't know, what's the most impactful one of the last? I'll probably like Acrylic Snail by Dyke is like one of the best, if not the best UK hip hop album I've heard in maybe the last 2 or so years. Not putting anyone out, because like, you know, there's a lot of people that I fuck with that have dropped seriously heavy records, but I'm talking about in all round terms of production, raps, the way it was packaged, the tour.
Let's get
into the videos.
I suppose it comes as well. Like,
I didn't even go to any of the shows on the tour. Like,
the entertainment value.
I knew that it was sick just by looking at like a 30-second clip.
So I think he did the whole marketing for it and everything. Yeah, just put together was just incredible.
He totally smashed it on every level.
Let's get into this then, because like I like the album for the most part. It's not a perfect album in my opinion, but that's just preference,
Yeah.
And it all depends on like the aesthetic and the vibe you tend to go for. Like, one of my favourite albums of the last like couple of years from the UK is probably Verbs and Mr. Slips, Lessons of Adolescence.
Yeah.
That's another big album.
I think, because going back to what we talked about, that kind of like soul producer MC dynamic, that it's similar to your album, man. It works
definitely
so well. It's so organic. It's hard to convey honest lyrics like Verbs does on that album without coming across as corny, and he does it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
He's sort of one of them. He's one of them rappers that talks about what I was talking about earlier, of just like, it's just what he's thinking. He's just literally put it on the page and been like, right, here we go.
He's a talented guy. I mean, even when he came round and we recorded an episode of him, like, obviously just speaking to him, he's a really sort of humble guy, but then as soon as he starts rapping, it's like he turns into a different person.
Yeah, man.
He is, much energy.
He is. I got mad love for Verbs, man. Like, we've had some real good times together. And like, yeah, we still need to do something, man. Like 100%. We've talked about it. I think that would be a serious fucking track. The both of us together on either Slips or Dead's beat, or even someone else. Like,
yeah. That's the kind of, I guess it all just boils down to preference, doesn't it, in terms of the hip hop you like.
The reason that I say that like Acrylic Snail is like so good is just purely off of Dyke's kind of evolution to like where he's like come to. I think like when you listen to tracks like Caustic Soda and things like that on that album, you're like, shit, man.
What was his
first album? He fully is it Bogies and Alcohol?
Yeah.
It's like officially, but obviously you got Contact Play's album as well. Yeah, I thought so. Like,
like you say, if you listen to the transformation.
If you listen to that and you listen to this, it's like shit, man. Like, it's come on leaps and bounds. Like, not that he wasn't ever good. Like, it's not. That's not what I'm saying. But like, I feel like it's just like evolved to a point where I'm like, shit. Everything he said. Like, when I listen to that Caustic Soda track, obviously, like, the beats is like a different animal, which I get to in a minute. But like, everything he says is just like, raw. He's like fully committed to what he's saying. Like, he backs every single word that's coming out of his mouth right now. There's no hesitation of what he's saying. He does not care anymore. Like, and listening to tracks like Permanent Midnight as well.
Sick track, man.
He is just like,
Jan Baxter makes that track for me though.
He is just reeling off like Do you know what I mean? Like in this sort of like reminiscent haze of like where he's been and like where he's at now. Like, it is a fucking amazing album, man. I always forget like how good it is until I go back to it and be like, yeah, big props to Dyke, man. Big up, James.
Do you know
like,
what song
it's a fucking sick album.
I really liked from the Circle on Prawns in the Moonlight, that Crystal Cindy one.
Yeah,
because
that is a good track as well.
It just takes you into like a completely different world.
Islam Swamp is the best track from that album, though. That Joe Caulfield beat is just insane, and like it's a similar sort of thing. Like it's that journey that he's going on, and it's like, you know, each time it's getting like more better. Maybe it's a bit more personal. It's a bit less like shouty and like obnoxious, but it is still got that. It's still him.
And he paints a complete picture of every single song he does.
And it's big, man. It's very inspirational. Like, it definitely influenced me. Maybe not a case of like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do. Do you know what I mean? There is like tracks out there that I've done that like fuck with a bit of jungle and stuff like that, you know. And there's things that will resurface where the beats are maybe more experimental than sort of Apex, for example, because that is like his own sort of time capsule of what was captured then. And what I will continue to do, as well as messing with other styles and doing stuff.
Why the name Apex?
You know what? It was just kind of like a bit of a random name at first.
Was it like a nod to Sean Price, aping his Apex from that Imperious?
No, I mean, I got mad love for Sean P, but no, I didn't even like that. Didn't even really occur to me until you just said that. But in a way, it's kind of strange because it's like the name was just something we thought was cool, and we liked the idea of the Apex, and then kind of now when I look back and think about the name, I'm like, yeah, it kind of does make sense, because it's like, I'm not saying that like that's it, like we won't do any better. We will. I don't know if Ded will make another record anytime soon. I know that I'm still making stuff and putting stuff out, but I feel like we kind of reached a point where we were like it could be better maybe, or like it could be worse. We could add more, we could take out, but we were like, this is it now. Like, it's fucking sick. It's gonna do, like, people are gonna feel it, and we're feeling it, which is obviously the most important part.
Oh, do you know, I didn't even clock that it meant
that is what the Apex is, you know, like reaching the top. And I'm not saying that's it. We've reached our prime. We're over.
You can like, hang the mic up now.
I really hope not, because I'd be really fucking disappointed if that was the case. And same with Ded, you know, I'm sure there's like more. There's more in our, you know, we've got more in our locker for like together and separately. But like for this project solely, I think we couldn't get any better, no matter how hard we try, and we didn't want to. I didn't want to. I'm pretty sure Ded didn't want to. Like, just keep pushing and flogging a dead horse. Like, it needs to be better. You need to do this. Nah, man. Like, it's good enough where it's at. Like, it's sick. So let's just put it out there and let everyone consume it the way that they should. And if they don't like it, then fuck them, innit?
Just mindful of time and stuff, because you've got like a train to catch.
Yeah.
But, so who are you listening to at the moment in terms of like where do you draw inspiration from, or just like to fuck with? Do you know what I mean?
Listening to so much shit, like Slow Tie is one, still banging that like 24/7, like as much as I can, coming back to it all the time.
He's with High Focus this weekend at Beamtown, isn't he?
Yeah.
Supporting.
That'll be
or just
he's like special guest or something.
Yeah.
Fuck me, that would be a heavy show, I guarantee.
I didn't even realise they were tight or anything.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, I knew that he was kind of cool with the Blah guys and stuff, because some guys playing a lot of his records in like kind of warm-up sessions, or like not warm-up sessions, but like DJ sets for their Blah shows, or like...
Where's he from?
Northampton?
Northampton, yeah.
So that's kind of...
Because Blah is Lee, no?
Yeah, so...
It's like Runcorn, isn't it? Where he's from originally, old Lee Scott. But,
yeah, so that's like Liverpool way, but then they've got like... That sort of Liverpool, Blackburn, Manchester, that kind of northern sort of territory.
I think Slow Tie's like aesthetic fits more with the Blah guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, High Focus is kind of branching out a lot more, aren't
100%,
they? And, like,
yeah.
And that's a good thing. Like, there's nothing...
You have to, man.
There's nothing wrong with, like, you know, mixing it up and sort of bringing more stuff to the table.
Yeah, because who did Verb T just put out a song? Who was it with?
Oh, Tremendous. Yeah, she's sick, man. Yeah, she played at Holdin Court.
She smashed that verse, man.
Man, we've had so many good people come to Holdin Court. I'm glad that we have. Like, yeah, she's ill, man.
So who else are you listening to then, besides Slow Tie?
Oh, Slow Tie. I've been listening to the new Ronnie Bosch album. Like I said, like that's pretty fucking sick. I hate when people ask me this question because I'm like, oh, I have been listening to a million things, but like.
We chatted about Billy Woods before.
Oh yeah, Billy Woods is like one that I need to still like fully immerse myself into his kind of like back catalogue, because I've only really been bumping that album with what's his name, Kenny Segal.
What's
the album called again?
Places.
Yeah, there we go, Hiding Places.
Yeah, that track on their Checkpoints is probably like track of the year for me.
That Spiders and SpongeBob tune are just fucking crazy.
That's the one where he talked about Nas at the Carnegie Hall, isn't it?
Yeah. And Arm & Hammer, him and Elucid, I've been bumping that album as well. That Paraffin track is fucking ill as well. So yeah, but I need to get more up on Woods. And yeah, listening to, like I said, like, you know, talking a lot about acrylics now, listening to that. And what else have I been listening to, man? Christ.
Do you listen to much grime?
Yeah, I listened to a bit of grime. You heard that new P Money Gigs tune, that Where and When tune?
Yeah.
Fuck me, that is a good tune as well.
Yeah,
thing is, I've warmed up a lot more to gigs over the years than, like, I wasn't really. I remember when he came out when I was at school, and I was like, oh, I'm not really into this.
Yeah.
And then Wump to Them come out, and I was like, rah, gigs is actually sick, you know. And a lot of people probably wouldn't want to say that or admit that, but like.
Talking Artist is a big tune, man.
He is sick. No, I wasn't really like into that one as such.
That's
but like it is
gigs, man. I love that track.
It is a good track. Like, I'm not saying it's not a good track, but I wasn't really feeling that. But like, yeah, as soon as I heard that Womp to Them album, I was like, rah, he's actually fucking sick.
You find that people don't really give not really scared, but they don't want to give as much credit to grime as should be sort of owed in terms of like the older grime, like Skepta, Jammer, that sort of thing.
I think.
Yeah, man, I still bump.
Weird Divide, man. Sometimes.
Treading on Thin Ice by Wiley all the time, and obviously Boy in the Corner. But Boy in the Corner's kind of gone on to its own sort of like status. So
like
I think a lot of people won't want to listen to it as much anymore. But even like Kano's first album, I fucking loved that.
Soon, hasn't he?
Yeah, I fucking loved that album, man.
I love that.
I do love that that older generation. I like the new stuff. I'm not really big on drill. I still listen to a lot of fucking jungle, man, to be honest. I listen to a lot of bands, like getting more into that sort of stuff.
Did you listen to Devvo? Did you hear about that? You know emcee Devvo from years ago?
Yeah.
Do you see
Devvo,
that?
dickhead!
Yeah, right, mate. I've got this bus ticket.
Everyone loves Devvo.
I'm doing my eyes up like a panda.
Yeah, I saw something about this online, but I don't know what it is.
So the story was that he was like a primary school teacher. He was at school for 4 years. And
they found out he was Devvo?
They found out that he was Devvo and sacked him.
Shit.
How fucked up's that, man? Like,
that is quite bad, yeah. But I kind of could understood though, because kids could easily find that shit now.
But then, man,
it's a generation thing. I think if you're teaching primary school, like kids like they wouldn't have a clue until someone stumbled across.
Maybe.
And then also, right, it's like you got to be if you're letting your kids watch Devvo, whatever. but then some parents.
I'm just getting an image of someone sitting their kids down to watch an episode of Devvo.
You got this bus
kicking the pigeon.
Mate, people, I guarantee you, teenagers these days, or like 11, 12, 13-year-olds, like starting to think they're a bit cool, would watch Devvo and be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Right,
like, and that's not even that long ago.
I don't think kids this generation could get into stuff like Little Britain.
No, Little Britain was fucking weird though. Anyway,
fuck Little Britain. It's just a poor man's League of Gentlemen. But,
oh shit.
But like going back to Devvo, yeah. So like, I was talking to my brother-in-law because this it was quoted in the Sun that some mum said, "Oh yeah, well Ali G's amazing, but you wouldn't want him teaching your son, would you, or your kid?" and then my brother-in-law was just like, "What? You wouldn't want someone as articulate and intelligent as Sacha Baron Cohen?" Like, teaching your children.
That's true.
Like, you fucking dickheads, man. Like, if everyone's got a past, he did something hilarious 10 years ago.
I guess it's kind of the same
satire.
It's almost the same as like the corrupt FM guys. Like, you know, like could they not be respected in their own rights? I mean, look at what's his name? Ali Chowdhury, who plays
Asim Chowdhury.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Asim Chowdhury, who plays
Chibadi
G. You know, he's been in some other stuff. He's in fucking Black Mirror, man, and he's good in that.
Yeah, he's good in that.
You know, and they've all
Bandersnatch, wasn't it?
Yeah. They've all got their own sort of like things to bring to the table. So I totally agree. I agree with that kind of like, but I can understand in a sense because
too much outrage culture.
Devvo is pretty. It's pretty out there, do you know what I mean? He says some shit you wouldn't want your 7-year-old to come home and say because that position, because you got put in that position.
Yeah, but why would they be watching it? I'm sure like they wouldn't have found it. Like
probably not. But it only takes someone's brother at home to be like, "Oh, your teacher's Devvo," have you never seen this?
Yeah, yeah.
But even if they don't know what Devvo is, like, you know, we live in that age now of like anyone can find out anything about anyone probably if you try hard enough.
I still think it's a bit harsh to sack.
No, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been sacked, but maybe they should have kind of like been like, maybe we need to kind of like think about like how we're gonna move forward with this, just in case like you get exposed to be fucking Devvo.
Do you know could you imagine if we were in a world where before you got employed to do a job, you know, they look through, I think some jobs they already do this, but they look through all your social media, they search one like Facebook, YouTube, whatever.
That. I mean, to be honest, all I ever post on Facebook is music anyway. Yeah, man. But even like working jobs of all kind of jobs, like it is tricky to be like, do I tell my boss that I'm Ash the Author? Do I just let him find out? Or like, depending on what job it is, like, I don't feel like I need to, but obviously sometimes in some jobs that I've had, it's actually kind of helped in a way, because it's kind of like, be like, I need to be whatever, like I can't be in this day because I need to do this or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the battle between like being an artist and actually still having to like have a day job.
Props, man. Well, just conscious of time again, man. Like before we're gonna play out with another one of your tracks. Any preference from the album?
Oh, it's hard. There's so many good tracks. Do you know what? Can we get I feel like Supersonic might be a good one to play us out to.
All right, man.
I really like that tune.
So we'll wrap up with Supersonic. But before we do, man, is there anyone you want to shout out? Is there anything you want to plug before we do?
Well, you know, shout out to Ded and Village Live. Obviously, Apex, the album is out now. Spotify, Apple Music, and still vinyl available on Village Live Records website, which is villageliverecords.com, if I'm not mistaken. If not, just Google it, you'll find it. And yeah, man, just keep an eye out for new stuff. You know, big up to you guys for having me down. Big up to Holdin Court. Big up to Move On Up and like all the Bournemouth boys as well. You know, got mad love for this town, city, whatever it is. Is it a city?
It's a town, technically.
It's a town. I think at one point it was going to be a city, but it didn't
well, same with Reading though. Really, they should just be fucking cities and be done with it. But
doesn't have a cathedral or whatever it is that constitutes
the
city.
The necessary.
Real thing?
Yeah, that is that. I think it is, or it used to be. I don't know if they've kind of like changed the whatever. We're getting into the mad stuff now. But yeah, you know, big up to Bournemouth. Big up to all the Reading crew, and yeah, got another album launch coming 22nd of August at Chip Shop in Brixton. Myself and Ded will be doing the whole album live with the MPC. DJ Mad Hands on deck as well, so that's going to be fucking crazy. Big Joey D's from Village Live be DJing, and we've got my man Oliver Sudden, who we talked about earlier, playing and opening us up with some of his Kronk's bangers, as we all know and love. So
and the reason the reason you're rushing off now is because you've got an album. Oh yeah,
so I got another album launch tonight. Yeah, Reading, myself and Ded. What's that? Are you looking up?
I said busy guy.
Busy guy. I thought he was looking up Suds'
Nah.
Instagram. Suds, man, calm down. But yeah, it's busy, but you know, it's good. It's good to be busy, and yeah, I've had a real good time. I wish I could stay fucking longer, but
mate, come down for a part 2, man. Always welcome.
Yeah, man, we might have to do that. You know, that sounds quite cool.
Yeah, man. And yeah, before we wrap up, then, man. So, Aidan, where can you find the podcast?
So you can find Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, every single podcast streaming platform, I think. If you're not on one, let us know. We can get on it. Yeah, subscribe, like, or don't subscribe, or don't like, you know, whatever.
No, definitely do.
The choice is up to you.
It just keeps us going. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just keep cool. Just keep showing some love. And at Shotgun The Aux, all the kind of social handles and stuff. Ash, where can people find you? Twitter
is Ash the Author RG, although I barely use it, so you know you can do that if you choose. Instagram is Ash the Author. Got a Facebook page, Ash the Author as well, and yeah, got loads of stuff on Spotify and all that stuff. And yeah, go check the new videos from Apex, Mr. Murphy, and Transmit, and look out for another video hopefully coming very soon. Bless, man, and thanks again for coming through. Thank you guys for having me down. It's been wicked. So we're going to play out with Supersonic from the album Apex. Go check that now. Go stream it. Go buy it. We're out. Peace.